Equinox students, this is Ms. Kurganin. I'm going to lead you through some notes for your physical geography note catcher. So if you are listening to this lecture, you've already watched the 6-minute Vox video about map projections. And map projections are just different ways that we can open up the Earth to look at it on a map. And when we are looking at our projections, at the very beginning of your notes, I want you to acknowledge that we can't show these four elements all on one map. So in your notes, you would type out that distance is how far is it between 2 points on the Earth. Size and area is the space or shape that the space that it takes up on the Earth. Shape is the actual like blobby shape of the country and its coastlines and its topography. And then direction is just like which direction is north or south, like how is it, laid out on the Earth. And geographers and cartographers have tried a zillion ways trying to figure out the best way to put all of this on a map. And there's really no best way. The cartographer's challenge simplified in your notes. What is it in a nutshell? You can't show all of this at the same time. If you really are trying to show size and area, then the shape of the countries get wonky. If you try and be really clear with direction, then the distance gets thrown off. So you get distortion when you are trying to be accurate with maps. So we are going to hold you to knowing 3 different projections. And the 3 different projections I'm going to go through here in our PowerPoint. The first one that you are going to write down in the first box is the Mercator. It is also known as a cylindrical or toilet paper roll projection. And this was made back in the time of seafaring days, like people were in the 1500s cruising around and taking over like the Americas. And Mercator made this map so that he could line up all of the boxes and draw a straight line and get like here from Spain to the West Indies in the straightest, most direct path. So to make this, they projected this like it was a toilet paper roll. Now there are some advantages and disadvantages to this projection. The advantage is going to be the direction that you can get you could just kind of line this up and get directly where you need to go. But the disadvantages, there's a lot of disadvantages to this map, and the size is misleading. Like Greenland, look at the distortion here. Greenland looks like this huge continent, and really it's not that big. And then look at the poles. There's a lot of distortion down here at the South Pole, and you can't even see really the North Pole up here. But that's not really the focus of this map. The focus of this map was they were trying to draw it for sailing and conquering. So the Mercator cylindrical projection, that's your first one. And I'll review these in a second. The second one that I want you to check out, and this one is called the Robinson. Robinson is Robinson. The Robinson is like a big ice cream cone, and if you were to put this map together, it would be in a cone shape. And what's the advantage of looking at the world on this type of map? Well, this is really good at showing North America and Europe. If you're looking at a northern conical projection of the northern hemisphere. And so I used this map a lot when I was growing up in school because we were focused a lot in a very ethnocentric way on the United States or on Western Europe. And there's a lot of distortion in the southern hemisphere. Like you can't even really see the poles here. So again, an advantage is it does a nice job of showing the shape of the countries. It does a nice job of like clearly showing the northern hemisphere, but there's a lot of distortion in the outer edges. So it's not very good for the edges. The third projection, third kind of boxes that we are filling out, this is called the planal, or this is a hard word, azimuthal. azimuthal projection. An azimuthal projection is, what if I just need to see one chunk of the globe? Like I just want to see one chunk. Like maybe I just want to look at the North Pole here. Then I'm going to use this type of map that shows me just one area. This is not going to show me, oops, sorry, that's loud. Sorry about that. So again, the planal is good when you just want to see one chunk of the globe, but you can't see what's going on in other sections. So it's going to be like flat, like a piece of paper. And so in your notes, it says that you are to kind of summarize the positives and the negatives, and then to draw a diagram. And the diagram was just, if you had printed these out and you were taking notes, would be a way to remember the 3 different types of projections we're having you know. So again, to review, the cylindrical, if you can't draw a diagram, you could just type toilet paper roll like there. It's going to be accurate across the center, not very good along the top and the bottom. The conic projection, for your drawing, you could write ice cream cone. That's going to be most accurate on the rim, least accurate along the bottom of the cone, like where the poles are. And then azimuthal, or the planal projection. This is great for just showing one chunk, one small section of the Earth on a flat piece of paper, but it is least accurate on the edges, so your diagram would be like piece of paper. So turn your page over, or keep scrolling down so we can talk more about maps, because this week you're going to make a map. And the type of map that you are going to make is a physical map. And a physical map is going to be one that shows physical features. It's going to show landforms like a mountain and valleys and rivers and coastline. It's not going to have any cities. When you have a city on a map, that's actually called a political map. So you're going to show one that actually looks like the Earth. And all maps have these 4 elements, and these are essential. So the map that you make has to have a title. And in your notes, you'd write down that a title gives the map purpose. So if your country is Kenya, it's going to say Kenya's physical geography, or physical geography of Kenya. The second element is a compass rose. And a compass rose, if you see it in a picture right here, is showing me which direction is magnetic north. Now, you do not have to spend a lot of time drawing this super fancy compass rose. In fact, some of you are going to be using a map off the internet that might already have a directional north on it, which is fine. You just need an arrow showing us which direction is north so we can orient ourselves. Your map is also going to need a key or legend, and a key or legend helps us decode the symbols and define the colors that you're using. So in your notes, you would write down a key or legend as a key to the symbols. You'd write down symbols for the map. And you are going to need to tell us about the landforms. You're going to need us to tell us about the elevation, how high or low does it get in your country, and what is the highest point. Even if the highest point is just a hill in Egypt, we'll need to know the highest point. And the 4th element that is a map essential is scale. And scale is defined as how large is that in real life. So are we looking at and in your notes, I just simplified it, a small scale or large scale. If you have a small scale map, everything is really tiny because you're trying to show everything super, you're trying to show as much detail on the map as you can, you have zoomed out. So I want you to write, for a small scale map, you are zooming out so that you can see as much land area as possible. That's a small scale map. And then a large scale map is if you were to zoom in nice and tight, and you would see high definition of detail in a large scale map, but you wouldn't really be able to see like the big picture. So a small scale map is like a big picture. And then as far as these 3 types of scales, do you have like a graphic scale or written scale? Most maps have a representative scale. So 1 inch equals like actually 9 millionths in real life. So it's showing you how big would it be when you blow up, nice and big. All right, next section of your note taking is physical versus political maps. So for this section of your note taking, I'm going to cruise down here. Right there. All right, physical maps. What is going to be on your map? You would write down major landforms, and major landforms are like the mountain ranges, the peninsulas, escarpment. You'll learn about what that is in another lesson, or depressions and valleys. You're going to show major environmental regions, which we call biomes. So get a sense with your coloring. If it's dark green, maybe those are the jungles. If it's light brown, that's probably where the deserts are. Maybe some of your country landforms have certain names, like a llano or an altiplano or a steppe out in Russia. We'll need to see major water features, so write that down in your notes. Those include bays, oceans, rivers, lakes, waterfalls. So you'll have to look really close on some online maps to get a sense of where are there water systems. Unless you have the Democratic Republic of the Congo and then, oh my gosh, there's like 2,000 rivers. We're not expecting you to draw them all because that would be a lot. So you're just going to like pick, the main ones, the largest ones. And then elevation and topography. So we'll get a sense of where is it the highest and where is it the lowest. So you'll kind of color code and we'll get a sense of the topography and how there's a curvature to your Earth map. Now, political maps. You're not making one of these. Political maps include political boundaries, major cities and towns, where are there roads and suburbs and railways, and the outline of where there's states. And you are not going to include this political information, although we would like it in your notes of what is included in a political map. The only political piece that you are going to do is you'll lightly draw in the surrounding countries so that we get a sense of where is your country affixed to, what region of the earth is it? Is it in the South West Asia? Is it in the European continent, and so on? All right, last part of your notes. Okay, so this is the last part of the notes for today, is what landforms and physical features do you have in your UN country? So if I'm looking at our United States, this is kind of what your map would look like if your UN country was the United States. You would be labeling in where are the Rocky Mountains, the Great Plains, the Central Lowlands, the coastal plains. We've got lots of bodies of water. We've got the Pacific Ocean and the Rio Grande and the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. And see that there's a tidal, that there's a scale, that there should be on here. Yep, there's the compass rose. It shows which direction's north, and the key. There's a key here. So your map is going to be similar, but we're actually not going to start this map until tomorrow. We're going to have work time on these directions for your map, because today we've got to figure out what landforms and physical features do you have in your country. So you are going to research 5 of them, and here's where you're going to go to research. So there's an assignment in Schoology that says UN country geofacts. So you are going to research 5 physical geography facts from a website called worldatlas.com. And there's a directions here where you have to go to your country. You have to go to the general geography. You have to go to the physical geography, and then you finally can read about what your country's like. So let's go do that. I'm just going to pick a country. I'm going to go with Afghanistan. So to find Afghanistan, I'm going to have to pick my country. And I have a whole list of countries, so I'm going to pick Afghanistan. And when I go into Afghanistan, this is kind of the map that I would be making tomorrow when I'm doing my physical geography map. But I'm trying to find geography facts today. So I'm going to click into Afghanistan geography, and then I'm going to go down here and start reading about the fertile plains